CM Punk, forgettable UFC debut here, Kenny. You know, my thesis statement going in was that if Mickey Gall is the real deal and the beast that a lot of us think he is, CM Punk's in real trouble, whether he's made strides over the last 18 to 24 months or not. And I think that's the way this thing played out. Gall looks like a guy who can really make a run, and CM Punk, you know, unfortunately one of the bottom feeders on the roster.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that Mickey Gall has a lot of potential. I like the way he moves. I like his confidence. I think he's a very hard worker and an intelligent kid. There's no doubt about it. But the real difference here, John, is the fact that he's a professional mixed martial arts fighter. CM Punk is a guy who's been training for 2 or 3 years and says, hey, I want to try a fight. And there's a big difference in that. You know, a guy who just decides to pick it up and say, hey, let me try my hand at this, while they should be applauded and while they should be respected, it's just a different level. I'm not going to go and be like, hey, let me jump into this NFL game and show you what I got, guys.
Right.
It's just not going to happen. And for CM Punk to do that, I thought was admirable. But, you know, he didn't land a punch. He didn't show that he had any kind of ability to hang with someone even close to the level of Mickey Gall. You know, Mickey Gall, that's his third fight. That's his third fight as a professional. This isn't a guy who, you know, who's had 10 or 11 fights, who's, you know, ranked in the middleweight division or the welterweight division. This is a guy who's just getting started. And what really kind of melted my brain was, you know, seeing Mickey Gall with his brown belt, you know, drilling moves and all these things. And then you see CM Punk get a stripe on his white belt, you know, it's just the vast difference. I mean, it was too much. And for someone to go in there and make it competitive, for someone to go in there and get a win after only 2 or 3 years of training in mixed martial arts, it is nearly impossible for anyone. I don't care what kind of athlete it is. And CM Punk, unfortunately, isn't this insane athlete. He's not this Usain Bolt. He's not this Brock Lesnar who can go in and do that. And he still didn't have a wrestling background, a taekwondo background, you know, any kind of martial arts or combat sports background that he could call on to get prepared for this fight.
Right, and I know some parallels have been drawn between CM Punk and James Toney. Toney came with it, you know, 50 plus, if not more than that, professional boxing bouts. And Toney never fought in the UFC again. And I think that's the big question for CM Punk. Is he going to fight in the UFC again? He has certainly expressed interest in fulfilling what is a multi-fight contract, but he has also said I wouldn't be totally caught off guard if UFC President Dana White were to cut me on the heels of that performance. So because I have nothing better to do, Kenny, I went through the entire UFC welterweight division this morning. And I'm really racking my brain to find a guy there that I think CM Punk could beat, or maybe a guy who is short on experience that a commission would actually approve a fight against. Some of the names, you know, Lance Benoist 7-2, Michael Graves is 6-0-1, Alvaro Herrera, I should say, is 9-4, Vernon Ramos 3-1, Anton Zaffa, the Australian kid. But I mean, when CM Punk signed with the UFC in 2014, I remember thinking, you know, maybe they give him one of the lesser-known welterweights on the roster. I think at the time I thought he was going to be at 85, so I mentioned like a Roger Narvaez type. But when you spin this thing forward, Kenny, for CM Punk, I just don't know how you keep him around at 0-1.
I have to agree with you. You know, there's no one out there. The reality is there is no one out there in the UFC currently in the welterweight division that he can beat, in my opinion. And now I feel like I'm being harsh on the guy, but it's so tough because I think that CM Punk is such a great dude. He's such a good dude. He came off so well off of this series on FS1 that they were showing, and he's, you know, I think he's aware of that, and I think that's why he said he'd be surprised. You know, he wouldn't be surprised if the UFC let him go. If he wants to continue fighting, why not allow him to fight on some of the smaller shows? Give him, you know, a couple RFA fights. Give him some, you know, regional MMA fights to build up his record, to get experience like other fighters do. You know, if he is genuinely serious about it, and then you bring him back into the UFC. You know, and maybe he is good enough in the next year or two to get fights under his belt, to build up his record and go, okay, now I'm ready. You know, even mentally approaching the fight, getting in and trying to understand, what am I going to do to start off this fight. He just ran straight at Mickey Gall. It didn't seem like he had any real plan. He was just going to go get right in his face. And just like it was like his first mixed martial arts fight, he was completely surprised by the kind of pressure that Mickey Gall put on him. I don't think he was ready for that. The intensity, the fact that he was going to level change and put him on his ass, it was just, he just looked very unprepared.
We both admire the man. Obviously, we certainly admire the message and the work ethic and the willingness to put himself out there the way he did. But I got to wonder what is next, because I think for all sides involved, it's a tricky decision. You know, maybe you put him on The Ultimate Fighter, not as a coach, obviously, as a participant, to see if he can, you know, win a job in the UFC. And maybe that's a path that he could sort of work his way back into the UFC. I don't know. It's an interesting dilemma. You can be sure, though, Mickey Gall is going to be heard from. He's a young kid. And I know CM Punk said fake it till you make it, but I don't mind the humility with
Yes.
Mickey Gall, Kenny. I feel like mixed martial arts and martial arts in general is sort of rooted in that sportsmanship and respect. And if he wants to, you know, nod guys like Uriah Faber and Jimmy Rivera, who won 18 fights in a row and feels like they should be on the poster, then I say power to him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I loved both of their post-fight speeches, both Mickey Gall and CM Punk, and what they had to say after. And, you know, just the class that Mickey Gall had to kind of lift CM Punk up a little bit and say, you know, stop hating, and all the people on Twitter and all that stuff, which was, I thought was great, man. You know, CM Punk tried it, you know, in the process, hopefully brought some more fans over to the sport. And again, he should absolutely be respected. There was a big fall for him, and he knew it. And coming from, you know, his background, the kind of respect and fans that he had, there was a lot to lose that night from CM Punk, and it didn't matter. And the message was clear. Don't be a pussy. If you're scared of doing something, but you want to do it, do it. Try it. Go for it. Fall down. Get back up. It was awesome.
I will say I'm a little bit surprised that the in-octagon performance was an F, Kenny. You know, like I thought he might get a D. I thought there might be a sign there, here or there. And I think he did, you know, maybe fight out of one submission attempt. But I thought, you know, maybe it would go a touch better for CM Punk. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what they do.